The world we see on screens is carefully arranged. Images are selected, moments are edited, emotions are softened, intensified, or reshaped, until they become easy to look at and easier to stay with. Over time, this filtered world starts to feel familiar, comfortable, predictable. It becomes a place we can enter and leave whenever we want. In that space, we are allowed to choose what we feel. We can scroll past sadness, pause on beauty, replay romance, avoid silence. The screen becomes a kind of stage where every story has a role, every emotion has a script, and nothing asks more from us than attention. Slowly, without realizing it, we spend more time watching life than living it. The problem is not the screen itself. It is not technology. It is not even the filter. The problem begins when the filtered world starts to replace the real one. Real life does not adjust its lighting. It does not smooth its edges. It does not wait for us to be ready. It shows up unedited, unbalanced, sometimes quiet, sometimes overwhelming. When we return to it, after spending too long inside the screen, it can feel disappointing. The conversations are slower. The emotions are messier. The days are less dramatic and less visually rewarding. And so we drift back to the screen, where life feels more intense, more meaningful, more alive. But that intensity is borrowed. That meaning is curated. That life is performed. The more we stay there, the harder it becomes to accept the texture of real life. We begin to expect reality to feel like a highlight reel. We expect relationships to follow clear storylines. We expect ourselves to feel inspired, fulfilled, and certain. When real life fails to meet that expectation, we don't question the filter. We question ourselves. We imagine different versions of our lives. We replay scenes that never happened. We compare our unedited days to someone else's carefully chosen moments. Little by little, we disconnect from what is actually happening around us. Time with family becomes background noise. Friends become messages instead of presence. Our own inner world becomes something we avoid sitting with, not because real life is empty, but because it asks us to participate. The real world requires attention without reward, care without applause, presence without validation. It does not entertain us. It meets us, and that can feel uncomfortable after we have grown used to watching instead of living. But there is something the screen can never give: the weight of a moment that belongs only to us, the quiet satisfaction of a shared silence, the slow understanding that comes from staying, not scrolling. When we step back into real life without expecting it to perform, we begin to notice something different. Not beauty in the visual sense, but depth. Not excitement, but meaning. The real world does not need a filter to be valuable. It only asks that we return to it with our full attention. At this moment, you are listening to
สถานีหยุดพักคลายเหนื่อย